Hi there, and welcome to my channel, the always work in progress, evolving channel. Yeah, that's what we're calling it from now on. Maybe I should say always evolving work in progress channel. That's better. Okay. And this is the channel where I still have this vision, you might say, or mindset that where I would like to have conversations with everyday people just like you and me. When I say everyday people, I mean not doesn't have to be an author or a teacher, really just everyday folks that are trying to really navigate in the best way they can through this life. And the reason for the conversations would be to really share our stories in our life's journey. And the purpose for this sharing is really to help one another, because what you might share could have a great impact or influence somebody listening. And this is where we are today, I believe. We really have to kind of reach out and help one another through this evolutionary process that we're in, ascension, as some call it. So, as we could share these stories, the other thing that's going to happen is I believe we'll find out we're much more alike than not alike. So if this idea appeals to you, please look below this video because that's where my contact information is. And click on that and let's see if we can't take it to this next level of actually having conversations. So in the meantime, I will continue to share what I share. And of course, I'm always hoping it helps somebody out there and that it makes sense. So today, what I want to share about is something that really was profound for me on a very personal level. And it's really become almost like a shift for me, or a wake-up call of what and how I'm really aware of how I'm living my life. So let me give you some background so this starts to make sense. So we're now in the very beginning of April, but just a day or so ago, it was March, the end of March. And around the middle of March, several things started to happen with friends and a relative of ours. The friend that actually was two friends who were, one was in hospice, the other was having chemo for cancer. And the third person that was involved is an aunt of ours. All three of these individuals died by the end of the month of March, so just a few days ago. And two were not it was how do you want to call it? I don't want to say it wasn't expected because they individually had some illnesses going on, but it was unexpected in the fact that it was getting to that place of actually leaving this planet. So that was a surprise, or a kind of a, in some level, kind of a shock. So that went on, and the daughter of two of the one of the persons that was in hospice, and it was the other person was her sister. So this daughter was reporting or posting on a regular basis on Facebook, and she's an incredible writer. She's actually an author of a couple books, and she just brings you right to where things are happening. She can do that with her writing. So it felt like I was going through the exact process that she was. Certainly I wasn't the daughter and I wasn't from that place, but in terms of her describing in such a way, such a, I don't even know what to call it, a way that just touched me, about her experience of her mom who was in hospice and the sister who had just finished chemo, and what this was like to have these two her people who are so close to her, obviously, in one dying and one going through chemo and actually having a very adverse reaction to the chemo. So things were very, very difficult and challenging. Let's put it that way. But the thing is in her writing, I was right there, kind of feeling her feelings, feeling from an empathic level what it would feel like to be going through this mom and sister all at the same time. And the mother was had been diagnosed some months ago with cancer, and so now she was in hospice, so there was the going through the death process. The sister, however, also had been diagnosed with cancer, but had been in chemo, and so there was no sense that there was this sense of leaving this planet anytime very soon. And as this gal wrote about it, again, it was just so touching, so deep, that it was not, that I just went through the process in my own way, my own body. And also it brought me to times where I've lost, like my father and, people that were very close to me through that process. So that was a big part of what's been going on since about the middle of March. And then, like I said, toward the end, all three had passed away. Now, also, what just happened toward the end, almost 2 days before the end of March, which is totally unrelated to what I'm talking about, somebody dying. However, it was related to how do we accept things? How do I accept things? It was all about acceptance. And what happened was, much to our surprise, a neighbor had 3 trees, which were beautiful trees, that one we actually worked as shade for us, and also blocked some view that wasn't so nice to see all the time. So it was like these 3 trees were extremely important to our where our backyard is. And all of a sudden, the 3 were chopped down in one day. We had no idea this was going to happen. And that was a shock for me. And it was a situation where, what could I do about it? Nothing. So in a way, the trees died like the 3 people passed away. And so all this happened within, I don't know, less than 2 weeks, right? And I went through, I'm still kind of going through, a whole process of acceptance. So first there's been resistance, shock between the people passing and taking that in, and then the trees in my mind dying as well. And then really frustrated on the tree level because I couldn't understand why this individual would do it. Supposedly he didn't want the maintenance of the trees, but really? Anyway, so I've had to go through this whole thing about acceptance, accepting what is. And as I've started to go through all this, through each situation as it was coming up, it kind of put me in a position, I could almost say forced me in a way, to look at how I am living my life and what is acceptance, and when I don't accept, what does the suffering feel like, and kind of just a whole energy of looking deeper within myself to try to really grasp this whole idea of accepting. Now, it's not a new idea to me. I've been working on this forever, it feels like, of being able to accept what is, even though it's not a preference, even though it's not something I would desire, but it's happened, and it's accepting. And then after acceptance, it is there anything you can do to change it? In this particular examples, no, there was nothing I could do to change it. I couldn't get the trees back. I couldn't have people not pass away. Nothing. So that truly wasn't accepting. And then a day or so later, we watched a movie that was really about showing how, I'm going to describe it this way, how the outer world, meaning the external world, has such an influence on, I call it hypnotizing us to believe how certain things should be. The right and the wrong, the good and the evil, the good and the bad, the only way and the wrong way. All of this, how life should be. And if it's not that way, then there's a problem. And that's where the lack of acceptance comes in. And without going into this movie, because it would be way too involved, at the end of the movie, this kid walks away from all of the BS out there, I call it, of how you should be and what you need to be in life and why you need to be this way in life, etc., which was not his essence. Basically, he turned his back and walked away on that and went within. And to me, that image, it won't leave my mind. I've been seeing it in my sleep at night, him walking away. It was an excellent movie. But what that meant to me and how I have been like hypnotized or a deer in headlights, so to speak, looking at this stuff that's gone on with a difficulty in accepting. And more importantly, it pulled me out of, it pulled me into the futuring. So it triggered, all these events triggered a lot of fear in me. Stuff that, just worry, fear, anxiety about the future. A lot of it's future driven, so the what ifs and the oh my gods. And I watched myself going down this rabbit hole. And at the same time, kind of having this awareness that, wait a minute, I'm literally causing my own suffering. And, it isn't the higher self of me. It's me being kind of glued to, put it that way, the false self and all of the ways of the rights and the wrongs and the worry and the whole business of this futuring. And I really suffered for several, particularly nights when I would go through this energies in my body, and there was a part of me knowing that, wait a minute, I'm looking at this through a suffering view, through a lens of suffering. Rather than just being in my now moments. If you're in a now moment, then there's nothing about the future. But that feels so unsafe for many of us. It feels like, oh, I'm not being responsible. I'm unsafe if I don't try to control and take care of things in the future. And take care of that before something bad happens. And I went through this whole experience of really getting in touch with what that is like. And where did I get these beliefs, this programming, these ideas that I had control and that I needed to really be about the future because I'm the only one that can shift things in my favor, and all of this egoic conversation and insanity, really, in my head. And so it wasn't until this movie and the end of it that something shifted in me. It just was like a major, almost like an earthquake inside of me of saying, whoa, where am I? What am I doing? And I started to do my writing, and as I did that, getting into automatic writing, I really got into a conversation with my guides, which I always do when I do the automatic writing, and started to recognize how all of these upset, trauma, drama can so easily happen without even having an awareness about it. And pretty soon I'm stuck, I'm gone into la la land. Yet, the way that the outer world is, particularly today, with all of the rights and wrongs and all of the trauma and drama that's going on out there, it's a challenge, or it feels like a challenge to turn my back on it, to say, no, I'm not going there. No, I'm going within, because that's where the truth lies. And going through this death process that this woman wrote about really also showed me how acceptance really needs to be there, and how when we do pass on, it is accepting and not trying to survive it. It's actually the accepting of what is, as we go to the other side to do the work, whatever that is there for us. So where I'm at today is at a place of really committing, making my intention to stay very aware of if I'm in my now moment, and to become very aware every time I'm moving into the future of the what ifs, or what could happen, or the future of my imagination. In other words, really catching myself in the act, rather than being courageous, knowing that when I'm in my now moment, that's when all is well and that I'm totally safe. As my guides told me through my automatic writing, that anything I can imagine, which is really what it is about the future, is never going to be correct. And that my timing of how things should happen has no purpose, no meaning to them, because the right timing will happen in the moment. And that all there is this moment. And I started really questioning about, why am I wanting to be suffering? Why? How does that make my life okay? And I see now what's making me suffer: being in the future, not accepting what is, and just again to say, when we accept what is, if there's something we can do, particularly, let's say, if you're being abused or in a very dangerous situation, then of course there's things to do, but we can't get that until we accept what is. Because as long as we're fighting and in resistance to what actually is, then we are caught in that whole story. We're caught in the drama of it, and that's where we struggle. That's where we're going to suffer. And we have to see it. Now, do we have to be enlightened or awake to be in awareness? No, I don't believe so. I mean, I don't even know what that means anymore, to be awakened. I think that what we're talking about in today's world with the ascension going on is we're all waking up in different ways, waking up to what is, rather than what we think there is, rather than to the imagination playing things out, rather than to the news media telling us what our life's about, or what we need to be worried about or care about, etc. It's crazy out there. If you really look at it, it's crazy. I'm a weather freak, and I like to watch the weather, or listen to the weather, hear the weather, watch the weather, the weatherman, every day. And so oftentimes while I'm waiting, because I don't have the exact moment that weather is coming on, so while I'm waiting for the weather, then I'm hearing parts of the news, and I think to myself, yes, it's crazy, although sometimes I can get hooked in it as well. This may sound radical. It may sound to you like this woman is off her rocker. And maybe I am, who knows, but I don't think so. I think that it is more important today than any other time to really understand that the only way to really move into this ascension, to move beyond the challenges and the difficulties and the insanity that goes on right now in what appears to be life, can only be worked through by working on our inner selves, by waking up to what's true. And what's true is just the now moment. It is the most challenging time I've ever seen or been through. That's for sure for me. And I've seen and been through a lot. And I've had a lot of time here. But this has definitely brought things to a different level. When I say this has brought things, I mean this whole idea of ascension. Any teacher that you listen to out there, or spiritual, whatever you want to call it, advisor, anybody that's tuned in is speaking about this as being a time of all of us, or as many of us that can, to help in this process of evolution, ascension, whatever. The body is going through a tremendous amount of energy changes. I feel it a lot, and probably you do too, as the body is what's really ascending and moving outside of this lower level, three-dimensional way of living. And while that's happening, everything's kind of falling apart out there, or being seen for what it is, felt in such a strong way that we have to wake up on some level and say, what the hell is going on here, and how do I help and contribute to moving out of this 3D. This is where we're at. And it may sound radical, although I think if you're even listening to this, you're part of this idea, or at least it resonates slightly with you, but that's where we're at. And I have to say, we need to use each experience that we have to help us in this process of waking up. And so, like I said, this last part of March, truly for me, was so in my face, so challenging. And, the trees being cut down compared to what else is going on in the world, that's like, what? That's nothing. However, it was important for me to have the experience of this whole, excuse me, this whole waking up, this whole how I go into the future, or how I resist what is happening rather than be in acceptance. At this point in time, I am, like I said, committed to be in acceptance. You can't force yourself to do this. I can't talk myself into it. It's really been an energetic movement through my body. And I have to really be intensely aware of it 24/7, or I fall back into the rabbit hole. But it's been an experience that all these series of events, the deaths, the trees, and then watching this movie, all three happening so on top of each other, really was a true wake up call, like somebody shaking your shoulder saying, wake up. That's how it's felt. And it's been exhausting. But I wanted to share this, maybe some of you are going through this right now. I hope it makes sense, and I hope that it helps somebody. It's really just the tip of the iceberg that I'm trying to communicate here. It's so big in a way. It's so different from where I think we've all been. It's so demanding that we release and let go of the fears and the beliefs and all that no longer serve us as we enter into this, what a lot of people are calling the new earth. It's something that Eckhart Tolle, from his book, The New Earth, has talked about for ages. In fact, a lot of the main spiritual leaders that are authentically spiritual leaders have spoken about this for quite some time. But now we're here. And now there's just about, nobody's denying it's hard to deny what's going on. It's hard to say, no, life is cool, no problems. But I'm sure there's people out there that are having that experience, but for many of us, we're not. So my message really is obviously to do whatever you can to help yourself stay in the present moment. And at the time you feel yourself feeling anxious, struggling, suffering, in resistance to things, is in that moment is the time to ask yourself, is this how I want my life to be? And also you have to work on that feeling unsafe, or all the ideas of, if I really just am in the moment and in acceptance, then I'm not responsible. That's not true. In fact, it's the most responsible you can be. The rest of the idea of being responsible by trying to take care of the future and plan your whatever retirement and plan this and plan that and give money to this and give money to that, that's BS. That's totally not even true at all. Really, it's the game. It's the game of keeping us hypnotized into this world of make-believe. So right now we're up against it. We really are. There's no doubt in my mind. And some of us more may be up against it than others. But I believe, well, I know many of us are right here, right there, trying to work through this, trying to really get a handle on and grasp how we can stay in our now moments, allow the universe to do what it's going to do anyway, have the courage and the trust to allow the universe, to allow our guides to do what they have to do during this time, and be here in a present moment, because that's the best thing we can do to contribute to this most amazing time, I guess we could call it. Yeah, most amazing time. So that is my message. I think it's all I can say about this. Otherwise, I guess I'm just repeating, and I guess repeating it in different ways is okay too, because maybe some people hear it one way and some people hear it another. But I think I've said it, and I'm going to continue to talk about this stuff. And as I move through more deeper into my experience and kind of get more of a grasp and understanding of what all I experienced in this last couple weeks of March, then I'll share that as well. So there you have it. I'm going to ask you, if you like the video, please click like, subscribe to my channel, make a comment. I'd love to hear from some of you. If you're going through some of these same things, or you're not maybe going through it, but you have questions, I don't know. Let's start a conversation. So definitely, if you feel at all anything, what I'm talking about, if you're connecting to it at all, please leave a comment. It can just be a very simple comment or a long comment, whatever works for you. But it's a way to share with others and help each other through this process. It's really what it's going to do. And just one last time, if you would like to have a conversation with me, that we would do on Zoom, and then of course I'll put it on this channel, and the conversation would be about your story, sharing something about your story or stories or challenges, successes, whatever you feel you'd like to share would be superb. So remember that my contact information is right below this video, as well as other links. So until the next time, which will be sooner than later if I keep my schedule going on, I think we're out of the rainy, horrid storms we've had here in California now. So the idea of losing power or internet is maybe not going to be as threatened, which will allow me to get more videos out there. Anyway, until the next time, please be kind to yourself. Say it all. I say it all the time, but it's more important than probably ever before that we are learning to be kind to ourselves, so that we become kind to one another. That's another key situation that we need to really look at seriously during this process that we're going through. So be kind. Until next time, take care. Going to click off, and if you've watched any of these videos, you know sometimes where I'm trying to click this off with my little clicker, it doesn't always click in the first time. In fact, never. Well, let's see what happens today. Take care.